Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. My name is Ashley, and before we get into the project that we're going to be working on today, I need to know if you knew this little random fact of craft knowledge. If you have a laser cutter, did you know that you can cut HTV on your laser cutter? Most, if not all, HTV is laser friendly. So if you don't have like a craft cutting machine like a Cricut or a Cezerin or a Silhouette, you can actually make HTV vinyl t-shirts using your laser cutter. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. That's the project. This project is only for HTV. Do not try and put your sticky vinyl, the stuff that you would put for like car windows or on top of cups and stuff. Don't put that stuff inside your laser cutter. It's not safe or good for you or the environment. But HTV, it's made differently, and you can use this stuff inside your laser cutters. So for this, I am going to be using the Aurora. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a decal and put it on a pink shirt. It's going to be Valentine's Day thing because it is almost Valentine's Day. The settings that I use may not be perfect for your laser. It all depends on how long you've had it, the laser power, whatever, right? So I am gonna show you, because I'm gonna be using the Aurora here, so I'm gonna show you how we are going to guarantee that we have really good settings and like explain a little bit more about, you know, like what, that's a lot of scratches, like pen scratch marks, right? So I'm gonna show you how we are going to determine that and just play around with the settings a little bit more. I honestly need to know though if you knew that HTV was laser engravable or laser cuttable, because I've seen it done a couple times. I didn't think that this was like an actual thing, like it was safe or something like that, but yeah, apparently it is safe and we are good to go to start making shirts with our laser cutters. Let's get started. Okay, so the very first thing you want to do is turn on your laser cutter, and then you're going to open up the top lid. Now I have my slats installed. If you had a the honeycomb tray would probably work better for you if you had that, but you can it's still usable if you only have the slats. Now for this project, I'm going to put my slats close together. That way it has more of a flat surface to lay on. Okay, you can see that my slats are really close together. I have kind of put it in the center of my machine because that's easiest for focusing. Okay, you're going to want to put your HTV just like you would on your craft cutter. The shiny side of what we have here is going to be pushed down. And so, or like this is the top, this is what you want your t-shirt to be on, right? So we're gonna put this down, and it's gonna be like the blank side is going to be up. Taking these, if you're using the slats, you wanna take these and you want to pin down the corners of your material. This is just gonna help it stay in place and also flat. See how it's curling on this side? Putting this on top of your material just holds your material down, and so your settings will cut the same and even throughout. Now you want to make sure that there's no ripples in your material and it's nice laid down flat, which mine is, and my corners are pinned down with the little corner buttons. Okay, and the very last thing we need to do is just shut our lid, and then we're going to go back over to the computer. Okay, so at the computer what we want to do is press refresh. Now there isn't going to be like settings, automatic settings for this because it's a material that P2 says it doesn't support. I promise you it does. So if you look over here, you're never going to be able to find HTV. This is why we have to test our settings. So for me personally, what I like to do is test my settings using like a heart, because there's going to be like fine tips here. Now, if you did a circle, that's fine and all, but what happens is one circle is just, they're very clean lines that go throughout. So sometimes when you do your settings and you're doing just a circle, of course you're gonna get really clean cuts because it's just one line. However, with this, because it's gonna be a little bit more trickier to weed out because we have the corners, it helps really for us to hone in on the settings that we should be using. So that being said, I'm just going to insert a heart. So I'm going to go over here into shapes and insert a heart. Okay, let's click out of that. The very first thing you want to do outside of that is come over here with this little aiming tool, and we are going to auto focus. So we are going to put this little rectangle on top of our material that we're going to be cutting. So I'm going to put this down to the bottom left corner. Okay, this Aurora stuff is a little bit thicker than EasyWeed, but not as thick as the brick stuff. So what I'm going to do is taking my EasyWeed settings, so the ones that I like the most for EasyWeed, we're going to go over to from score to cut. My EasyWeed settings are 15 and speed 250. Those are the settings I like for the EasyWeed. Now remember what I said, Aurora is just a little bit thicker, so I'm assuming I'm going to have to adjust my settings to fit the Aurora here in a little bit, but these are good starter settings for what I have already. So now what you want to do is just press process, and then we'll press start. Okay, so over at the machine, all you want to do is press your button and watch this cut. When it's done cutting, now you want to take your weeding pick. I don't even take it off of my slats because I know I'm going to have to retest this. So you just want to take your weeding pick and see if you can weed out your decal. Now it's not wanting to weed. Our settings are not correct. So now what you want to do is close your lid on your laser. Going back to our program, we're going to press OK. Now all I'm going to do is press refresh. Now it did not cut all the way through. So that means one of two things. I either have to bump up the power or slow down the speed. So what I'm going to do is selecting that heart. I'm going to drag it up. I don't want it to hit the original heart. Now my speed is already really high and I like the fact that it's cutting fast. So what I want to do is bump up the power. So I am just going to go, let's do 75. And then we're going to press process. And then we press start. Going back to the laser, you just press the button and watch your laser cut. Okay, now that it's done cutting, you just want to take your weeding pick and we're going to try and weed this out. And you can see that it weeded out nice and good. The lines on my cut are really easy. And if we come over here and try and take this off, it did not go through my carrier sheet. So my carrier sheet is fine, and this and it weeded out perfectly. So honestly, second time is a charm for this. We did this perfect in our second try. I'm gonna insert my Aurora white to put on top of my pink shirt that I have. So this right here is the front of it. This is what my shirt is going to look like. So I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to put my corners down onto my slats using these gripper things. What are these called? Gripper things? You can tell that everything's laying flat. Things are not bubbled. Now what we want to do is the same thing we've done before. We're going to shut the lid and go back to the computer. Now I'm going to press OK, and then we're going to press refresh. Okay, I have downloaded a really cute clip art off of Creative Fabrica. So all I'm going to do is find my SVG file, which is this right here that I've downloaded, and I'm going to drag and drop it into Xtool. Okay, this is going to be my file. Now what I want to do is combine and then unite. For this one right here, I want to go to cut and remember what our settings were for our skeleton. 75 and 250. So coming over here, we want to do 75 and the speed to be 250. Okay, anytime you are working with HTV, you always want to mirror this. If we were to cut it out just like this, and after we get done weeding, when we put this on our shirt, it's going to be backwards because the front is facing down. So what we want to do is come up here to reflect, and we want to reflect this horizontally. So now when we cut it, the front is going to be forward facing when we put it on our shirt. Okay, for this, I am just going to delete that. I don't need it anymore. And for this one, I am just going to make this larger so it fits on my entire blank. Then all you want to do is press process and then start. Going back over to the laser cutter, same thing we've done for everything else. You just want to press that button and watch your machine cut. Okay, now that it's done cutting, we can open up our lid. And you'll notice that I keep trying to weed on top of this and not move it. The reason for this is if you needed to recut this because it didn't cut all the way through, you wouldn't have to do anything besides shut the lid and press reprocess again, and it would cut right in the same exact spot. The second we remove this and try and weed it elsewhere and put it back, you're not going to be able to line this up really well. So that's why I keep just trying to do one quick weed in here, determining, look, perfect. So now I can take this out and finish weeding elsewhere. But if this wasn't weeding, I would just shut the machine, press process again, and have the machine cut it, and we won't have any alignment issues. But now that that's good, we're going to take this and put this onto our table. Now, when using HTV, you always want to remove what you don't want, and we are going to take off what we don't want. So I don't want the bulk of this. I only want the writing to be left on the carrier sheet. This clear thing is called a carrier sheet. Okay, now that it's all weeded out, it's going to look funky on the back side, but when we flip this over, it's going to look absolutely phenomenal. The one thing that I love about laser cutting is because nothing actually touches our material, you can see these like super fine details. They cut perfectly because there was nothing touching it. This turned out so good. Okay, let's go and take this over to the heat press and press it on our shirt. Okay, so over at the heat press, you want to turn this on, and we are going to turn the temperature to 305 degrees, and we are going to press this for 4 seconds. Now, my heat press, when it's done heating up, this red light will turn green, so we want to wait until this turns green. While we wait for the heat press to heat up, what I'm going to do is fold my shirt in half so I get the direct center of my shirt, and I'm going to put this inside my heat press. Now, it's not done heating up, that's okay, because I only want like a faint little mark down the middle of my shirt, getting that center. So I'm gonna put this in and press that button. Okay, when we open this up, our wrinkles are gonna be out of our shirt, but then also you're gonna see a faint little line on your shirt. That's gonna be your direct middle, and that's gonna be able to help line up your decal perfectly. Okay, so we're still waiting for the heat press to get done heating up. We've already created that middle for our t-shirt. Now what I want to do is just fold this in half, and we're going to fold our carrier sheet, creating that middle. Then what I'm going to do is align this up, the line right here, to the line on my shirt, and I'm going to put my carrier sheet down onto my shirt. Then what we're going to do is just putting our silicone mat, we are going to put that over the top of our decal just so it protects our heat press. Now that it's done heating up, we are just going to slide in our tray and press the button, and we're going to watch this auto close. Now it's 4 seconds, it's going to be really quick. I love this heat press because not only does it auto close, but it also lifts up automatically. Open this up. This Aurora stuff is a peel cold. This is still piping hot, so we're gonna wait for it to cool. Okay, so this has cooled enough. So then all I'm gonna do is just peel off the carrier sheet. Okay, so now that I have peeled off the transfer tape, anytime I do an HTV project, I always like to repress this. So what I'm going to do is taking your silicone paper, I'm gonna put it over the top of the entire decal and just press this. I'm going to do it for the full 4 seconds of what the original press time was. That just makes sure that when we are lifting off the heat press, that everything, if it did get lifted up, everything is nice and stuck on there. This is what our final shirt is going to look like. And this was all done on the laser cutter. Isn't that so stinking cool? And this Aurora stuff, like color shifts. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it right now, but it has like a pearlescent color to it. I love this stuff. How cute. And like I said, you don't need a craft cutting machine in order to do HTV t-shirts. All right, y'all, I sure hope I inspired you to create, and I'll see you later.